a lot happened in 2019, and because 2020 is so hellish, just terrible year. I mean, Michael Brooks just passed away. He was a real one. He was definitely a real one. If you want to know what I'm talking about, look up Michael Brooks in Israel and see his answer when he was asked about Bernie Sanders' policy on Israel. He was a dude who was principled and comfortable in his own skin. So it was sad to hear. And he was funny. He talented. He was thoughtful. Someone you can learn from. So it's not good music for me. There's a lot of crazy liberals out there. It's good to have some that are sane and direct and principled like him. If we're going to look at 2019, in context, we got to go back to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And the reason why I have Candace Owens here is this is why black people started voting for Democrats. And the Southern strategy is real, because Lee Atwater admitted it. Now, you don't have equal citizenship because you can't do all of this to a group of people. You can't invent race and downcast people for generation after generation and then say, okay, everything's equal. But on a technical level, this is what happened. The Democrats voted heavy because they had control of the government, overwhelming control of the government. Most of the no votes came from Democrats. And a lot of these Dixiecrats are still Dixiecrats, are still Democrats. You still have racist Democrats throughout the South, some in the North, whatever. But this is why black people are like, okay, the Republican Party is no longer the party of Lincoln. They're not with us. So we'll vote Democrat. And I think that makes sense in principle because you don't want to split your vote. You have power in your ability to flip certain states if you vote as a block, and if those states are battleground, you can flip an election. If it's a close election, battleground state. So voting as a block, it's something you pretty much have to do. So when I see black people vote 83% Democrat, I'm like, well, shoot, it might as well be 100 unless you give a reason to vote for a Republican. You know, if Donald Trump came out and said, hey, man, I just got a history lesson. I'm going to put up a down payment of $3 trillion in reparations for American descendants of slaves. Golly, I've been doing videos next to this thing. I'm always hitting the handle when I do videos. So this is like a sound you're going to hear in my videos. But what I'm saying is I'm a liberal and a blacker, loyal Democrata, at least you say in theory, but then saying Hillary finna convert to Trump pansy. And then they blame the Russians. I am really a black liberal. I don't want to vote for Republicans, but I would fall out of my chair, kaboom, go, and vote for Donald Trump yesterday if he said that, if he came out in favor of reparations. Because what happened after this, there was no political agenda. It was like, okay, we have relatively equal rights. Relax. Don't do. And never mind that Martin Luther King was pushing hard for reparations. And black people dropped the ball by not having a political agenda right after that. And you could say that one of the reasons why we dropped the ball is the free safety came. You know, and linebacker clotheslined us, and there was a lot of reasons to drop the ball, but regardless, the ball was dropped. We did not follow up with I'm coming to get my check speech. We barely followed up with I Have a Dream. We didn't have a political agenda, but that changed in 2019. And when that changed, it rocked the nation. And I'll be real, I'm biased. I was glad to finally see a political agenda. And that's what happened in 2019. Like early on, Marianne Williamson, she came out in support reparations. We have a political candidate that's doing that. But again, like this is a backdrop and a push Like, she didn't even really get that many views with this. I've seen everybody's gotten more views than 75,000 at one point. Was that 25,000? Shit, I've had a video with more than that. But it wasn't that big, but it started to pick up steam because you had the blowtorch coming from people in the media, especially like the independent black media, and they'd get to tweeting and they'd get to challenging Kamala Harris. And then sort of your familiar agent type people like Irritated Genie, he comes out and he's saying that ADOS is an LGBT front movement. They did the same with Tariq Nasheed. He was talking about how Kamala Harris didn't have any sort of specific policy for ADOS, and he was calling them ADOS, as you'll see in a moment. And again, we're just in January of 2019, and you have Howard Dean criticizing Tariq Nasheed, but really lying about it. Because Tariq wasn't, the whole thing about the edges was that she's pandering because she doesn't have policy. So he's like, oh, you talking about her edges? Well, and then trying to sister girl trigger black women to see if he could get them. And look, a bunch of people retweeted. Then you had the first attack from Digital Sister and Joy Musty Reed. This is February 5th, 2019. And this is Truth Be Told TV. I listen to that channel now and then. And this was a review. Like, you can look this up. They did this again, but the first time, actually, Shereen Mitchell has done a hit on TV against ADOS 3 times. This is the first time. We're talking way back February 5th. And the reason why it is because you have a lot of, I don't like to defame liberalism and call these people liberals, but you have loyal Democrata who are not black first. So they will call people who are as grassroots as you can get, 80 plus book club, trying to educate people on why you need reparations, damn it, or why you're in trouble, why you have a hell of a case, and really doing the black power fight that other people should have done a long time ago. And now, because of that, you have the possibility that people won't vote against Trump. So enter Digital Sister and her robot theory and Joy Reid. But again, I already did videos on Joy Reid. My issue with Joy Reid, though, and I'm trying to do this for historical context because 2020 is a completely different year. But we can't forget how crazy 2019 is because we're only in February, and we have MSNBC accusing a grassroots movement of African Americans of being Russian robots. And that's crazy. Nearing the middle of February, ADOS launches its website. And for the first time since 64, I would argue, there was a concise black power agenda. February of 2019. I don't even remember, I don't know exactly what date it was launched. I just know it's February of 2019. And for the first time, and if you can talk about the Black Panthers or whatever, show me a straight up concise black power agenda from the Black Panthers. This is Malcolm Nance going on Stephanie Miller's show and saying that African Americans who are organizing a political push for reparations are Russian robots. Now this right here, this is coming from Alicia Garza. Now remember you had Irritated Genie, or as Tariq Nasheed called him, Irritated Agent. Remember you have Alicia Garza, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, and she's saying that American descendant of slaves isn't about reparations. Time out. As someone who was subscribed to Yvette Carnell's channel and Antonio Moore's, I think I was actually subscribed to Tone's longer, I watched ADOS form organically, interactions with real people, callers, weekly. Never did I have an impression that they were controlled by robots. But more important than that, why is it Irritated Agent is saying that they are, and he had his receipts, that they were controlled by the LGBT movement. But Alicia Garza, April, we went past March. I guess March was a chill. Alicia, chilled month compared to the others. Alicia Garza is saying that they are homophobic, xenophobic, and patriarchal. This right here told me that Alicia Garza was bullshit to lie like this. But let's keep it going. So N Cobra joins in. And N Cobra, I don't think I'll get too much on N Cobra. I mean, the problem with N Cobra was I hadn't even heard of him. I had been studying reparations pretty hard, and I hadn't heard of him. Then you had an incident. I think this was, looks like April 4th through 6th. We're still in April, where Mark Thompson punches an African immigrant. I think he's first generation. Punches him because because Mark Thompson had gone on, and I didn't even chronicle this, had gone on in MSNBC, was on Joy Reid's show, and was also making the claim that the American descendants of slavery were some sort of like front group, and they're not a real group. I forget exactly what he was saying. And he did mention Russia, so Africa was like, hey man, that's some sellout shit to go on and do blah blah blah, talk about Russia. We got real problems. We ain't no Russia problem. So Mark Thompson gets heated because he called him a sellout, and I think a coon too, and he steals on him. And then said like some ADOS person stole on him. I think this was late April, is the first example of a reparations hearing. I don't think there were any other, I think maybe Conyers had mentioned, I don't know. But this is a reparations hearing for HR 40. Once you had an organization that was really serious about saying, hey, look, if you don't go along with our agenda, no vote. Once you had that, all of a sudden you had an extreme push for HR 40 sponsors. I'll get to how extreme of a shift it was. Now, the HR 40 conference in itself was a historical event for a lot of reasons. There was a lot of just nonsense. People got on some respectability politics kick, talking about how they don't want to check. Then you had this fool, this dude who had the song My Dick Works. He testified against reparations. My Dick Works. I mean, who vetted this cretin? I mean, it's serious. Coleman Hughes. He made a little argument about why he's against reparations. It didn't make sense. Like, how does he end up there? I don't get this. From what I understand, he identifies as Puerto Rican. I don't know if that's true, but I'll show you why I suspect that in a moment. He said, there are videos of this. This is Tariq Nasheed. Now, let me read this post. This tweet that was put on Lipstick Alley. He says, there are videos of this Coleman Cruz Hughes dude that are hella disturbing. They put a dude who is primarily identified as Puerto Rican to be as part of the discussion for reparations for ADOS. He was calling him ADOS then. He's with ADOS. And this dude has videos of him walking around in his drawers and popping his boosie. Ain't got about lipstick alley. Yeah, I don't understand the whole. It's time to put on tidy whities and pole dance for. I mean, that who would think of that? Like, if this is your idea, I'm gonna do a rap video, and I want to be on the subway pole dancing in my tidy whities. We're not even halfway through the year, and this is the guy that they had speaking against reparations. We're June now. They also had this dude. He played the role of the conservative, and who he's basically he played the we sick massa role. Whitey will get mad and all that. And first, I'm always skeptical of somebody who's like more African American, more West African, Central African, Bantu-ish. Even though we're not entirely Bantu, the Yoruba aren't even Bantu. But when you don't have lips, a brother that don't have lips, I mean, it's different with other brothers, but I mean, when you African American and you don't have lips, and who titles a book Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps? This is new woke black conservative shit. This is basically, who's also like new woke black conservative? The worst case is definitely Kanye. But anybody who's like liberals turn good men into whiner weenies, like that's just tired. Like, you just want to be the next Limbaugh and you don't have the Limbaugh. You lipless. Okay, now this is HR 40 2015, 2016. Now, this is before ADOS. Like, I might have heard of Yvette like around 2016. I definitely heard of Tone. And they were kind of evolving to where they are now. But ADOS, the hashtag wasn't coined until 2018. Late 2018, I believe. Or late middle. That's when you started to see descendants of slaves and then American descendants of slavery around that time. You go back, you have 2 sponsors for HR 40. This is a whole year. This was a whole year. 2000, you can go back and look at it now. 2 sponsors of HR 40. But once people started saying, hey, look, no reparations, no vote, and tweeting that, Kamala is not the business if she isn't talking reparations, then you see a major sea change. Then you see 122. That is the difference between having an agenda and just going on with the realms of politics. This is August 12th. Like there's been so much high publicized police brutality. But I always say, look, if they're willing to just kill you on camera and not care, if they're willing to do that, what other little things do you face? This is the worst example of it I've ever seen. This dude got busted and went to jail for having cocaine. The cocaine was actually bird shit on his window. Supposedly they tested it. And right around this time, I'm just going through a little bit of craziness outside of the sea change in black politics. I don't know why I included this. This is actually older than September 2019, but the whole corn pop story and the hair in his legs, basically Biden started to show advanced dementia. Now, it's ironic because I would have said that Biden has no chance, even with the major backing he has from Wall Street and all that, and who didn't want Bernie. I would have said he had no chance because he started to lose his mind. But Trump has basically lost his mind too when it comes to COVID-19. So we get in October 2019. You have a Watchmen movie that leads with the Tulsa race riot. And not a movie, it was a TV show, and a good TV show. I like the Watchmen TV show. And you had the ADOS conference. Historical event. Hillary Clinton, this is how you know Hillary Clinton's bullshit. She was accusing Tulsi Gabbard of being a Republican, a Republican third party person, or that. Then she said she was working for the Russians, and the same with Jill Stein. Hillary Clinton basically started to show that she was willing to lie. This, look at me, I got ad block up there. This is what one of the things that started the wedge between ADOS and FBA. Is this New York Times article? It lies out of the gate. A movement that claims to support American descendants of slavery is being promoted by conservatives and attacked on the left. That is a lie. Name one conservative that has promoted ADOS. I can't name one. This is a lie. American Descendants of Slavery was created by liberal Democrats. And the New York Times lied. And the people that they're being attacked by, a lot of times, are sort of neoliberal Democrats that really aren't that principled. They aren't Michael Brooks liberals, I'll tell you that. Because right after Woke Watchmen, you have a racist Harriet Tubman movie where you have this fella playing Bigger Long, who's a fictional black slave catcher. Times out, a black slave catcher. Technically, no examples of this existing. But I would say it's not just a racist thing to put in a fictional black slave catcher. It's a sexist thing. Because you did have white female slave catchers. And it wasn't the only issue with this movie. DACA versus 1866, it just shows that when the 1866 civil rights lawsuit was challenged, this is your ability to sue for discrimination. It shows that where black politics was compared to where it was going. DACA really doesn't have a whole lot to do with African Americans. But you see, Black Caucus was there. I think it was all of the Black Caucus, NAACP. I think one chapter of the NAACP went to the civil rights case. And then you're starting to see the split with FBA. Tariq Nasheed once told a conference, the problem with this conference initially, I don't know if this was the one that got taken down. Oh yeah, it says closed. So first he did Indiegogo and then he switched to another one. I forget what it was. But the problem with this was he put in there that he wanted to do political PACs. And some people can break the rules. Some people can't. It's probably unfair, but that's where it was. You couldn't do the political PACs. Then you have another example. I say, if they'll just kill us in film, what crazy things will they do? In 2019, we're in November, thankfully. How do you have to use this type of physical force? How do you have to subdue a person who is a quadruple amputee? He's slamming and choking a quadruple amputee. So Michi X made a video talking about how Tariq Nasheed shouldn't do the conference. She made an okay argument, and Tariq clowned her by calling her Dolamichi. Then you had the craziest slogan I've ever seen in an anti-meth campaign. Meth, we're on it. Then we're getting near the end of 2019, and here comes Digital Sister. And now that they're attacking FBA too. Anybody who wants tangibles in return of their vote, walk away. I think that's Isaiah Washington. And here's the thing, like ADOS and FBA technically are not really big on Trump. Trump ain't really given a reason to vote for him. So nobody's really hyping Trump like that. Except Isaiah Washington. He's another new woke black conservative. He hasn't made a good case. So this is this lady reacting to more of Joe Biden's craziness. And this is me thinking, you know, there's no way back that Joe Biden has a chance. We're going to see Bernie Sanders as the next president, and we're going to have to be prepared to oppose Bernie because he's against the agenda. And this is a video I think I'll play, but I saw this video around this time, and it shows how many non-ADOS black people are in the media arguing against reparations. So this is an important one. I think I'm going to have to add this to the video. And I don't actually know when that came out, but it makes a larger point of how this is all connected.
Is it fair that there's no reparations, no restitution, nothing?
Should the Irish get reparations, by the way? Irish need not apply signs when they came here during the Progressive era. I mean, how far do we want to take this down? Are we acknowledging that there are not apply signs when they came here during the Progressive era? I mean, how far do we want to take this down? Are we acknowledging that there are ugly spots in history? Because 60% of the world would be entitled to slave reparations if you wanted to play that game.
Well, here's a fact. Slavery ended 154 years ago. It's been a long, long time since we had slavery in this country. And you have people like my family. I'm black, but my family came to the United States in 1962. My parents are from Costa Rica. Do I get a check?
I did a couple of essay contests that I actually won. And I won like NAACP AXO award for this essay and something else. I can't remember another, like I ended up winning money. And the essay was, do you think black people should get reparations? And I was like, no, you didn't work for it.
Why are you so against reparations?
Valerie, it's a matter of a waste of time. We've got so much to do. And yet you have people who invest so much energy and attention on what I consider to be a dead-end idea, a dead-end movement.
If we were to pay reparations today, we would only divide the country further. We would insult many black Americans by putting a price on the suffering of their ancestors.
I started calling myself black rather than half Puerto Rican, half black, because there's much more to be gained in terms of social capital by calling yourself black. Being black gets you something that being Hispanic.
Biden, this dude was asked about reparations and started talking about immigration.
H.R. 40, which is the bill that has been proposed in Congress to establish a commission to look at reparations. But we shouldn't wait for that commission to do its work to do things that are reparative. Remember, we're not talking about a gift to anybody. We're talking about mending what was broken. We're talking about the generational theft of the wealth of generations of African Americans. And just crossing out a racist policy and replacing it with a neutral one is not enough to deliver equality. Harms compound, just like a dollar saved in its value compounds over time. So does the value of a dollar stolen. And that is why the United States must act immediately with investments in minority-owned businesses, with investments in health equity, with investments in HBCUs, and on the longer term, look at reparations so that we can mend what has been broken.
Vice President Biden, do you support reparations?
Look, let me, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral.
Then near the end of the year, you had this idiot who was doing like a homeless conference in Seattle, decided it'd be a good idea. Like I said, I will call out liberals. I like calling out liberals. Messy ideologues, I don't care what the ideology is, but I like calling out liberals because I want to clean up the image of them. And I will call, if you're doing some ridiculous stuff like, whose idea would this be? You're going to have a transsexual do a freak show when you're talking about homeless. then you had Biden, who flipped out on this dude and called him a damn liar and fat. Again, Biden is cracking all through 2019. 2020 is flipped and Trump is cracking. And I'm not giving a damn because neither one of them are really on the agenda. I'm DJ down ballot, and I'm going to have to see. Actually, there's some people who have earned my vote down the ballot already. We got people who were signing HR 40 before the dog whistle. This is something I picked up on because I did a little research, not a lot, on the organization that hired the transsexual stripper in Washington. And I see, you see that bird? That's the Sankofa bird.